30 of 5.
Oh, what happened?
We are recording.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get started, shall we? It's a nice cold night. Everybody probably wants to get home back next to the fire. This is the Suamico Village Board meeting for Monday, January 20th, 2025. The time is 6 p.m. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. Just a reminder for anybody wishing to speak, come forward. Please provide your name and address and speak directly into the microphone as this is being recorded. At this time, I would look for a motion to approve the evening's agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda?
Trustee Andrews has given the motion to approve the evening's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
And I have a second from Trustee Eckert. Excellent. Any other further comments or questions on this evening's short agenda? No? All right, all those in favor of approving the evening's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Public appearances, this is the point in the agenda where anyone in the audience wishing to come forward and speak to an item not on the agenda, this is your opportunity. Please come forward, provide your name and address, and speak directly into the microphone. Tell us what's on your mind. Be aware that whatever you bring forward this evening may be referred back to staff, but no action will take place this evening. Anyone? All right, seeing no one. On to item number 6. Item number 6 this evening is an Employee Service Award, 25 years, Troy No. Director Smith.
All right, thank you. I would like to recognize and award Troy Noy for 25 years of employment with the village's Public Works Department, along with all the years that he had committed to the fire department as well. Troy is the first one to show up when called in, always willing to do whatever is asked, and he always gives it 110%. He leads the parks and our baseball, softball diamond prep in the spring and summer, and has created many relationships throughout those years with his own family going through it, and has many contacts through the Howard Suamico youth sports groups in all of his efforts. And a lot of what we get and receive is related to Troy and his efforts and what he does out in those parks. He doesn't need a lot of follow-up. He's kind of the point of contact out there, which is great because it kind of eliminates me and I don't have to get in the middle of it. And I appreciate that a lot. I'm not sure how many more years we'll have Troy around for, but we appreciate every last year that we'll get out of him. Thanks again and congratulations, even though I know you are not here and you will never hear this. But again, a public congratulations and thank you for all you do.
Thanks. Is there anything that anyone would like to add since you'll never hear it anyway? No?
Just thank you to Troy Noel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has quite a reputation in the village and has been around a long time. Good for him. Can only hope you stick around that long.
I'm on it.
Okay, good job.
With hesitation.
There was that hesitation.
There was a
Duly-
pause.
Duly noted. Okay, presentations, item 6B this evening is the 2024 Year in Review Grant Presentation by one Mr. Ben Rogers, Administrator Kaker.
Yeah, thank you. So every year we invite Ben Rogers to come and give a presentation on what he worked on in the last year and some of his successes and what we're looking forward to in the next year. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ben. Thanks for coming in.
Do I have to hit the button? No, I'm on. Okay.
No,
great.
you're on.
Well, thank you, everybody, for having me tonight. You have the report in your packets, so we'll jump into it. In 2024, we had 2 accepted grant proposals. The first was a matching grant from the DNR for forest fire prevention. Part of that, we were actually able to get 3 mobile radios and 4 pagers for the fire department at 50% off. The second grant that was approved this year was the state local cybersecurity grant program for endpoint enhancement. You know, stuff for like phishing emails and things like that that might come across. A lot more complicated, but that was for $25,661.38. It's from Wisconsin Emergency Management. And that's what we did have awarded. So on the next page, did want to give a breakdown of 3 years of grant writing for the village. You can see all the approved grants we had there totaling just over $130,000. If you calculate what the village is paying for as part of the agreement, the ROI on that is $2.54 for every $1 spent. In the 36 months on the next page, since this position started, we submitted 40 grants. I think that should be 41 or 42 now, but over $3 million in requests. And you can break down departments or where those grants are headed for. So fire and EMS is number 1, parks 2, police and the culvert, law enforcement and the culvert, and then cybersecurity. And then we can break that down a little further, and in the 36 months since this position started, I've submitted 136 grants. Again, that should be just a little higher between all entities, and Suamico received 29.4% of those grant requests. If we move to the next page to look at what's on the horizon, what's coming ahead here. We did miss the DNR Knowles Nelson grant. It was for $180,000 for improvements to Calavera Springs Park. We missed that by a single point. That application was resubmitted from 2023. Met with the Parks Committee, kind of explained that process to them of everything that goes into an application like that. And they decided they want to go again for that one, and I'm totally fine doing that. We already have some stuff here in the hopper that we're waiting to hear back on. I worked with Joe on our FEMA AFG application last month, and that's for slightly more than $62,000. That includes training and a couple pricey pieces of EMS equipment. We'll hear back in April. So on that one, I did speak to a FEMA rep on multiple occasions out on the East Coast, where he walked me through kind of exactly, where we didn't score well. We actually did move to the peer review stage for that process, which is pretty huge for our last application. So it's even better this time around. We do have a coastal management program grant again, that same one for Sunset Beach Lane Road. That's going to be for $120,000. There's a meeting next Wednesday, a virtual meeting on that grant program. To improve on that one from last year, Alex, Andy, and I hosted some visitors from the UWC grant. They are experts in the state when it comes to lake effect flooding, and they checked out the site. Turns out one of them is a technical reviewer for that process, so I think he kind of understands better what's going on there. It's a very hard thing to describe, the situation on Sunset Beach. We also filed an intent to apply for a FEMA BRIC program. It's for the same project. So that's kind of our backup if the coastal management doesn't go through. That's just an intent to apply. We would have to go through and do a pretty complex application, which I can do here with the help of the staff. We also submitted a Firehouse Subs Foundation application for new extrication equipment already. We did that the first week in January. I actually called Troy Noe and got some information from him on the history of the department, because he goes back a long time. So he helped with that. He was a pleasure to work with. And finally, we submitted our interoperable radio grant application this month as well. So stuff that we're looking forward to doing that's not mentioned here already. The fire department's going to have a good chance to get some success with 3 or more grants in '25. Also, this year, Suamico is going to qualify for the Packers Foundation. It goes in 3-year cycles, and each entity can only apply once in that 3 years. So municipal projects are up this year, which could very likely be for some playground equipment, cover a part of that. And finally, we're also exploring the congressionally directed spending process for the new water tower. So there's a lot that goes into that, but we're well underway with all of that. So at this time, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Rogers?
I have a couple. So when I look at these statistics, and thank you for helping us understand the traction that you've gotten in 36 months. So do I understand that In that 36-month, we were awarded $130,000 worth of grants,
Correct,
and you applied for 3 million,
correct.
the same period. So if you were to advise us here, how would we increase the win ratio? What are some of the things that we can do as a village to be more successful? If $3 million is being applied for and we're getting 130, how do we increase that? What could we do differently?
Most of that $3 million are going to be those larger FEMA grants.
Right,
So that alone is probably 2 million or more that we missed out on. And that's a very complicated, convoluted process that we're starting to understand better. Joe and I meet pretty regularly about that. And with that, it's all about the intent of the application. So I feel confident, I'm not going to say extremely confident, but I'm confident that we're going to get to the peer review stage again. We're making some very intentional decisions on what we're applying for that FEMA process. FEMA is also the only, excuse me, the only program out there that you can hire firefighters with, and they'll pay for that, or the only one out there that you can get an engine for. Every department with even a little bit of capacity is going to go after those. So we're really applying against everyone. Everyone. So, for like a fire engine, right? You know, their emphasis on that would be a converted engine. So something that's totally unsafe. I've called fire departments for Suamico before to ask, how did you guys get this fire engine? Well, the one we were driving was from 1968. You know, so those are the kinds of cases that get attention from that. But again, we're going to try for those because it's our only opportunity to get those. And we are trying to be more direct and intentional with what we're applying for.
well, appreciate the efforts and the returns on your effort too, so thank you. Anything we can do, just keep us and Joe and others, you know, on the know.
Okay.
So we can help you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I had a question. With regard to the 40 grants, what is the process for selecting which grants? And you'd mentioned we are working towards, like, especially the FEMA application. What kind of decision or criteria is used to determine which grants are applied for?
I'm constantly looking for stuff that comes to my inbox. I talk to colleagues, and we try to identify projects. Once I do identify a project, I run it by Alex for approval on that project. If he says it's a go, he'll get me in touch with the right staff members, and we can start that application process.
Okay, thank you.
Did you see an increase or a decline in the number of grant opportunities in 2024? So what I'm getting at with that is, you know, when we came off of the whole COVID experience with all of the grant funding that was coming from the government, et cetera, there was, it seemed like there were fewer grant opportunities there for a period of time. I'm just wondering if that door has opened back up.
We definitely saw a decrease, and this is not for Suamico, but in general with the end of those pandemic relief funds, your ARPA dollars, ESSER dollars, stuff like that. That has gone away. There still are plenty of opportunities out there. The trend that I'm seeing is now there are more applicants than ever for those opportunities.
Oh, right.
Right now, we have an all-time high for nonprofit organizations, registered 501c3s in the country.
And you know why that is? Because all of the ARPA funds ran out, and people have all of these additional expenses and staff that they put on with ARPA funds that they can't pay for.
Exactly correct.
It's hard for me to feel bad for those folks, but I get it. Okay. Other questions? For Ben Rogers, grant writer. Great return on investment.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Wish I could get that kind of return on investment. Everything. All right. We will move on then to item number 7 this evening is the consent agenda, which consists of items, previous minutes of the village board dated January 6th, 2024, December 2024 municipal court report, item C, November 2024 animal control report, item D, December 2024 treasurer's report, item E, EMS second half 2024 report, item F, December 2024 recreation report. Are there any questions or discussion on the consent agenda items?
Motion to approve.
I did have one question just for clarification.
Okay.
Before we move forward. So Ben Rogers being the grant writer, this may be a better question for Alex and Katie. On the treasurer report, it states the grant writer contract for the year of 2024 cost the village $13,734. I am on page, after the treasurer report of page 1, 2, 3, 5 pages. Fifth page, general office operations. We had a budget of $17,250,
Yeah, we're just waiting on the last invoice.
so it should be the 17
It will be right around 17.
for the full year. Okay,
Correct,
so
yep.
then, based on the amount of monies we received on the grant activity for this year, we're at, well, I was looking at
About
about.
30,000.
Yeah, so we're at, what is that? It's over 10%, the cost. So about 10 to 12%, I'm not good at fast math. 17,000 is what costs for the 130,000 in grant monies. Is that an accurate statement
No.
No, it's for 43,000.
for 43,000?
Is
So
that-
it costs over the 3 years, about 51, what would it be? 17,000 times 3
Right.
is what? 51,000? And we've brought in 130,000.
So that's a quarterly expense.
The 17,000 is the annual expense,
Okay,
and it's approximate.
okay. And the 40,000, and that's where you lost me, I'm sorry.
Because we get 130,000 over 3 years,
Over the
right?
3
So I can
years.
divide that by 3, so we're roughly, we're getting $43,000 of benefit for $17,000 worth of expense.
On average for the last 3 years, correct.
I guess that would be a question I have is, I don't know the history, that just seems like a lot
Yeah.
for a return. And so my question is are you comfortable that we're yielding the best benefit for those types of returns? Well, I look at, what the ratio's almost 3 to 1, but I'm also looking at what the ROI is on the grants for our expenses.
Maybe ask that again. I'm a little confused. So just to clarify, so for the cost to the village over the last 3 years has been around 51,000.
Right.
The grants that we've been awarded is around 130,000. Are you concerned with that? Those numbers?
Is it 130,000 each year, or is that over the course of
Total.
3 years?
3 years,
Three years.
$51,000 over the course of 3
3
years.
years, okay.
As long as we're not losing money on the project.
I understand that piece of it. We're net gaining. My question is there other services out there that would create a better benefit?
So say hiring a professional grant firm to go out and chase those monies is what you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to say
Okay.
if there's somebody that can get us a better percentage rate in return.
The grant writing
Possible.
process is complex, I know that.
I
so
do
there's a
like,
benefit
I
to
do like the
having-
value of having the same person, building those relationships with the different entities so that the following years they can write better
Understand.
grants. We have a good working relationship. He's never said no on chasing any grants that we've asked him to chase. I review all of the grants that he does submit. They're very detailed. I don't have any concerns with the quality of the work that he's producing. You don't really know unless you were to hire another firm to apply for the same grant and see who gets it. And it has to be apples to apples, which is difficult. I know that one of the challenges that we have in Suamico, whether you want to call it a challenge or not, but when we're competing with other municipalities that have census tracts that have median income levels that are much lower than ours, those ones are they get priority over us. And so we're running into that commonly.
We only have a small portion of his time as well in comparison. So the value that was conceived of in this position was the fact that he is sharing time with Howard, sharing time with Suamico, and sharing time with Howard Suamico School District. the majority, what's the breakdown, the percentage?
Yeah, so the breakdown that we had agreed to at the beginning of this program is 50% of his costs are paid by the school district. And he's technically a school district employee. And then 30% of his time is supposed to be spent with the Village of Howard. And then 20% Village of Suamico. So in theory, 8 hours a week, he should be spending time on the Village of Suamico. And at this point, I don't feel like he's not giving us that. If anything, he's giving us more than 8 hours a week.
And contractually, do we have a contract for a period of time with?
We have an agreement through 2025. So at some point later this year, we'll have to have that conversation about if the board is interested in extending that agreement or changing the terms of it.
Could we look into what competitors are, just to make sure that we can weigh it out? I'm not saying a complex RFP process, but just to look at what the other options are out there as far as what the rate of return would be to compare against some of these numbers?
And rate of return will be difficult to find.
Right, I realize that.
I can get you the rates of some of these firms that provide that.
You could identify cost. What would be the cost to bring in a private
Yeah.
firm versus the cost?
Yeah, you can't identify the rate of return. There's no guarantee that you're going to get money, but yeah, we can determine what another grant writer would cost us.
I think it would be beneficial when we get to the contract renewal phase to have some of these numbers to take a look
Sure.
at, just to ensure that we are making the best decision.
Sure.
Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, there was a motion put forward by trustee Eckert to approve the evening's consent agenda. If there is no other discussion, I will offer a second to trustee Eckert's motion to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and those opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 8 this evening is the administration item A, amendment to the Howard Suamico Historical Society lease agreement. Administrator Kaker.
Thank you. So a couple months ago, the village board requested that the lease agreement with the Howard Suamico Historical Society be amended to include discretionary leasehold improvements. We had our village attorney draft up an agreement. This had been sent over to the Historical Society. They reviewed it and are agreeable to the terms on it. And so tonight is an opportunity for the village board to act on either approving or denying the first addendum to the Village of Suamico and Howard Suamico Historical Society lease agreement. Happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Kaker? Administrator Kaker.
Nothing.
Any feedback from the neighbors on,
I did not hear anything.
okay,
Good.
Anyone else?
you do that in the spring?
No offense.
Tomorrow, actually, adding the fence, right?
Yeah, it's a nice
It's going up
warm
tomorrow.
day tomorrow.
Start filling, you start
Start
filling.
tomorrow, we'll get the torch out.
Why not
Burn
tonight?
holes in the ground.
How about tonight?
Why are you waiting? All right. I would offer a motion to approve the first addendum to the Village of Suamico and Howard Suamico Historical Society lease agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a second from trustee McKeefery. Any other further questions or discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Trustee Andrews.
Aye.
Trustee Eckert.
Aye.
Trustee McKeefery.
Aye.
Trustee Stevens.
Aye.
President Van Rossum.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Terrific. All right, item number 9, discussion on future agenda items. Who's got future agenda items that they would like to discuss? Anyone? None? Okay. Discussion on meeting adjournment. Anyone care to provide a motion to adjourn this
Make a
evening's
motion to
meeting?
adjourn.
Thank you. Trustee Andrews has offered a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from trustee McKeefer. Excellent. All those in favor of adjourning this evening's meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Our meeting is adjourned. All right.